Your approach to shot matching will depend greatly upon the nature of the footage. On a narrative production that was shot by an experienced cinematographer and camera crew, the quality of the raw content can have a reliable consistency throughout and require minimal normalization. For documentaries, fluctuation in locations, light sources and temperatures, not to mention the use of multiple different cameras, may require a much more dedicated preparation. In the previous lesson, you clicked on individual clips throughout the timeline. However, Resolve provides helpful organizational tools called flags that assist you in identifying and categorizing clips based on any criteria that you define. So, for example, you might flag clips that have overexposed skies, or clips that require green screening, or clips that need narrative-specific dynamic grades made to them. What we're going to do is we're going to apply flags to our next timeline, which is the O2 balanced timeline. So remember, you can go up to just above the viewer and switch over. So we want to go into O2 balanced. And there are actually already some flags in there. We've got some green and orange flags, and we're going to kind of pick up where the course leaves off. So we're going to carry on adding some more green flags. And in fact, clip 4, which is selected at the moment, is another clip that needs to be grouped in with these green ones. And you can actually see why. It's one of these shots with lots of foliage, and we have the rhinos here, and so are these other shots. They're all in the same location and of the same subject. So we're essentially using the flags to tell ourselves, or the colorist if we're prepping the timeline for them, which groups of clips should work together, should be seen and worked on together. So let's add in shot 4 by right-clicking on it, going up to the flags menu, and we're going to choose green, so that it has the matching green flag. You can see it up there in the top left corner of the little thumbnail in the timeline. We can also apply flags another way. So if we click on clip 5, which again is in the same location, different subject this time, but the same location, we can use the keyboard shortcut. So let's press G on our keyboards. G is the keyboard shortcut to apply a flag. And whilst that's pretty fast, it does apply a default color flag, which in this case is not the right color. To change the flag to green, we have to double click the little flag. So if we double click on the blue flag there, and that will open up the flags menu, and we can change it to green in there. So if we click on green instead, we can also add notes if we wanted to, which is very useful, again, if you're trying to convey information across to someone else. And let's click done to apply that change to green. So the keyboard shortcut G is currently configured to apply blue flags. To change the default flag color, we need to change the flag color in the toolbar in the edit page. So if we go over to the edit page, we can either click on the edit page button there, or it's Shift 4. And in here, we have access to the flags menu, not to be confused with the marker menu. This is the flag menu here. If we set the flag color in here, then every subsequent time that we hit G, we will have the color that we selected here applied. So we're going to set this to yellow. So we come back to the color page, and we're going to flag clip 6 and clip 4, because you can have multiple flags if a shot is in a location or contains a subject that appears in other scenes. So we're going to apply a yellow flag this time. We can right click as I showed you before, but this time when we press G, you'll see that it applies the flag in the color that we denoted in the edit page. So as you can see, you can select multiple clips and flag them simultaneously by simply command or control clicking multiple clips before you use the keyboard shortcut. The green flags in the timeline identify the clips that we're going to be working on throughout this lesson. It will be easier to locate and navigate between these clips if we filter the timeline so it's only showing us the green flagged clips. Now we can do that by going up to our clips menu at the top here, using the little disclosure triangle next to it, and telling it to only show us the flagged clips that are green. When we select that, you'll see automatically our timeline is filtered, and only the clips that meet the criteria we just specified up here are displayed to us. When a filter is applied to a timeline in that way, the clips button is underlined in red, and that serves as a visual reminder that some clips in the timeline might not actually be visible to you. You can imagine that'd be very confusing if you don't notice that and there are clips you're expecting that just aren't there. Like flags, you can also use markers for filtering purposes. The difference is that flags identify an entire clip or source media, whereas markers single out a specific frame or range on a clip in the timeline. Adding a flag to a clip adds it to every instance that the source clip appears in any timelines. Markers can be applied using a keyboard shortcut M, and their default color may be set in the toolbar in the edit page in exactly the same way we did with flags. So here we have our much more simplified timeline. We can even add additional flags if we like. So if we go back into flagged clips and choose yellow, you can see it's also adding in clips that are flagged as yellow. So it's an add process. If we go back in, you'll see there's ticks next to both of them, but I'm going to untick yellow and I'm going to leave it just as green for now. In Resolve, flags and filters can perform a wide variety of functions. You can use different flag colors to identify clips that must be reframed due to a visible boom, for example, or single out clips that were incorrectly white balanced, or isolate clips that require a flashback look or something similar. When the timeline is filtered based on flag color, you can focus on addressing just one category of clips at a time. The shot match function in Resolve analyzes the colors in one image and reconfigures the balance of another image or multiple images to match it. The results of any algorithmic grading function should be carefully evaluated after you apply it, because an algorithm is unable to recognize the environmental factors behind each scene's colors. Even so, shot match could potentially be a starting operation for a match grade and can enable you to quickly prepare shots for on-set review or processing dailies. So back in our green filtered timeline, we're going to select clip 1, and we're going to be matching the colors in this clip to the balanced clip 02, which is directly after it. In the interest of preserving the integrity of the video signal, we are going to keep normalization, balancing, and matching on separate nodes. So in the node editor, we're going to create a new serial node by right-clicking node 2 and choosing to add node, add serial. You can also do that using Option S in macOS or Alt S in Windows. We're also going to right click the new node and choose node label, and we're going to change this to say shot match. It's always good practice to label your nodes clearly because it can get very confusing as you start to build up quite complex grades. So with our shot match node selected, we're going to right click clip 02. Whilst clip 1 is still selected, it's important that clip 1 is still selected. We're going to right click clip 2 and we're going to choose to shot match to this clip. Okay. Now the shot match is performed on the active clip, on the clip that had the orange box around it, clip 1 in this particular case. The result is a better match between the two images. If we flick back and forth between them, we can see that it is a better match between the two images. Clip 1 has become warmer, it's less contrasty to match the environment of clip 2, but the shadows need to be darkened a little bit to better match the mountains in the background, and the gamma needs to be brightened and made cooler to remove the strong red tones. So we're going to drag the lift master wheel left until the shadows of the waveforms in clip 1 and clip 2 more closely match. So let's go to clip 2. You can see the sort of darkest shadows are just below 128. Let's come back to clip 1. We can see that they're elevated compared to that. So let's bring them down until they now are also just underneath 128. We are also going to drag the gamma master wheel right just to brighten up the main bulk of the image. So let's drag that up. Let's just again compare the two. We can see the bulk of the image here, the grass and the field. You can see it's sitting much more in the middle of the image. This is slightly below halfway, so let's just bring this up. And we might need to push and pull, so we might need to just bring the shadows down at the same time. We're essentially increasing the contrast in the middle part of the image. And then we're going to drag the gamma color wheel away from red until the rhinos appear more neutral in color. So I'm going to come down a little bit more like that. Let's have a look. Again, between the two. Certainly looks better than the shot matched one, but there is still work for us to do. So automatic shot matching is useful for quickly realizing an approximation of a match, but ultimately you should still assess the image and check its video scopes to confirm an accurate match. And if necessary, perform manual adjustments with the grading tools to refine that match. Stills have a variety of functions in Resolve, as you will learn in lessons throughout this course. One of the most direct uses of stills is for visually comparing clips in the viewer. By superimposing a still or a snapshot of a previous clip onto a current clip, you can visually assess their differences and similarities in contrast, saturation, and color dominance. In this exercise, you will use stills to manually match clips. So we're going to start by, in the green flagged filtered again, selecting clip 5. And in the O2 balanced timeline that we're in, this clip already has its tonal range, balance, and contrast values set. You can see that because we have a balance node and a contrast node. If we turn them both off, I'm using Option D or Alt D, we can see that's the original image. This is our balance, and this is our contrast adjustment. So this is the balanced and contrast adjusted image that we're going to be matching to. If we right click in the viewer, we can grab a still of this. So right click, grab still, and that will load that into our gallery. If we then double click under the still that appears, where the little text is, we can change the label to match reference. Do note the numbers under the stills refer to the timeline track, the clip number, and the number of stills generated for that particular clip. So it kind of looks like it doesn't make sense, but once you understand what they represent, it helps a great deal. If we now go to clip 6, we're going to be using the primaries and the parade to check that the shots end up matching. If we select clip 6, we're going to be using our primary bars in here, and we're going to be using our parade scope. Let's come over to our parade to ensure that the two shots match. If your still isn't open, make sure that you've got your stills image wipe turned on. Okay, you can also just double click the gallery still, and that will also activate the image wipe mode. And we need to make sure that we can see these two side by side. We can adjust the midpoint so we can choose where they fade and how they fade, but in the middle for now is perfect. Incidentally, you can invert a wipe using the keyboard shortcuts Option W on a Mac or Alt W in Windows, and that will switch the frames to reverse essentially in the reference for the image wipe. The shot of the man by the fence is obviously much cooler than the one with the men and the horse in the field. Although it's the same location, it's clearly a different hue. The parade shows that quite clearly as well, because as we move the division point, you can see how much further up the blue part and the blue channel is compared to the rest of it. If we move across, we can actually see that the red and green are very similar, and it is just the blue channel that has been elevated by comparison. You can see this is our reference. This is what we're trying to match to on the right hand side of the divide, and then this is where we currently are. We've got one node already empty and ready to work with on this clip, and we're just going to label that node match. So we're going to right click, choose node label, and type in match. As a tip, labeling nodes has many benefits. It clarifies the grading workflow by specifying each node's task, which enables you to make faster adjustments as you grade. Labels are also great for inserting reminders for future necessary returns to the clip grade. So being able to label nodes quickly is often a good idea. You might want to consider creating a custom keyboard shortcut therefore. So if you open up DaVinci Resolve's keyboard customization preferences, in the lower right corner of the pop-up interface, you can choose all commands, and that will reveal the full list. You can also search for the command you're looking for, label selected node. You can then assign that to any keyboard shortcut you like. I would recommend assigning it to the tab key. The tab key is a good option because it is not used for anything else, and it's also a quick one to tap and then type in the name that you want for that label. Right, now back into our color wheels palette. We're going to make sure we have our primary bars activated. If you're still in our primary wheels, then just click in the middle button, or you can use the drop down menu to select the primary bars. To match the shadows, we're going to drag the lift Y, so that's our darkest part of the luminance channel. We're going to drag that down until the shadows of clip 6 match the shadows in the still. Because they're side by side in the scopes, it makes it very easy to do this. So there's our shadows at more or less the right place. Got basically the same level. Actually, if we come down a little bit further, about there. The next step is to address the overall balance to match the reference. So we're going to drag down the blue gain, and we're going to drag that until the tops of the blue parade align. You can see it's clearly too high at the moment. If we bring it down so it aligns with our reference, you can see that that's already heading in the right direction. Next, we're going to drag up the red and green gain bars to match the warmer reference look there. So we're going to drag our red and our green, actually is about there, but maybe a bit more red. So we're kind of half going by the scopes, half using our eyes. Let's quickly disable that node. We can see how far we've come. Got a much closer balance now. Makes it so much easier having them side by side, both in terms of the scopes and just visually in the viewer. As a tip, if you've got a mouse with a scroll wheel, you can actually use that scroll wheel to adjust the primaries bars by just hovering over it and then scrolling, which gives you more precision. Now we also have a little bit of an imbalance in the shadows in the lift part. You can see these highlights now match very closely, but we've still got a much cooler appearance to these darker foliage areas at the top behind the man. So let's go over to our lift primary bars this time. And we're just going to open up the red part down there. We might need to just push and pull, so we might need to come back to our gain and just bring that down. Got to get that balance right. The primary bars still adhere to the same zones of influence that our primary wheels did, so there is a big overlap, which is fine. We just need to slightly push and pull as we go. And then finally we're going to tweak the gamma bars to offset any remaining color inconsistencies between the two images. So I think we definitely need a little bit more green, a little less blue,